Have you ever felt like confidence is just out of reach? Like it's some mysterious trait only a few people naturally possess? You see others who seem effortlessly self-assured in relationships, in social settings, at work. And you wonder, what do they have that I don't? Here's the truth. Confidence is not a rare gift handed out at birth. It's not reserved for the extroverted, the charismatic, or the lucky few who seem to have it all figured out. Confidence is a skill, one that anyone can develop. If you struggle with self-doubt, overthinking, or the fear of rejection, you're not alone. But what if I told you that an ancient philosophy, practiced by emperors and great thinkers, could be the key to building unshakable confidence? How Stoicism can help you build confidence today. We're going to break down how Stoic philosophy can help you become more confident, not just in social situations, but in every area of life. Whether it's relationships, career, or everyday interactions, these lessons will help you navigate challenges with clarity, self-respect, and resilience. These insights aren't just theories. They've been tested by some of history's greatest minds and are just as powerful today as they were thousands of years ago. Personal story. Overcoming self-doubt. There was a time when I constantly second-guessed myself. Whether in friendships, dating, or even simple conversations, I worried too much about what people thought of me. I feared saying the wrong thing. Every interaction felt like a test, and I was terrified of failing. It got so bad that I started avoiding social situations. I would replay conversations in my head, analyzing every word, wondering if I had embarrassed myself. The fear of rejection, the fear of not being liked, not being enough, kept me stuck in my own head. Then I came across something unexpected: Stoic philosophy. At first it seemed too simple to be true. How could wisdom from ancient Rome help me navigate modern relationships? But as I dug deeper, I realized something. Confidence isn't about controlling how others see you. It's about mastering yourself. It's about knowing your worth, setting boundaries, and not relying on external validation. Self-doubt and fear come from misplaced focus, worrying about things outside of our control instead of focusing on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our mindset. Once I started applying these principles, everything changed. I stopped overthinking every interaction. I started speaking with more clarity, setting boundaries, and focusing on what truly mattered. Not just impressing others, but respecting myself. And the best part? The more I let go of the need for approval, the more confident I became. What? You'll learn in this video, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. If you've ever felt insecure in relationships, struggled with social anxiety, or found yourself constantly worrying about what others think of you, these Stoic lessons will transform your mindset. We're not just going to discuss confidence in a general sense. We'll break down specific, actionable ways to apply Stoic principles to your daily life. How to set boundaries and say no without guilt. How to stop overthinking and embrace imperfection. How to handle conflict with clarity and self-respect. How to communicate with unwavering confidence. Each of these lessons will challenge what you think you know about confidence. But trust me, they work. So if you're ready to shift your mindset and build a confidence that doesn't depend on anyone else, let's dive in. Why this revision works. The introduction flows naturally from problem to solution, keeping engagement high. I tightened the personal story to make it more engaging and relatable, while keeping the emotional impact. Instead of just saying, "Stick around, these lessons work," I highlight specific takeaways to increase audience anticipation. The Stoic principles are directly tied to confidence building, making them more practical and actionable. Why it matters. The hidden cost of saying yes. Think about how many times you've agreed to something you didn't want to do, attending an event you weren't interested in, taking on extra work when you were already exhausted, or saying yes just to avoid an awkward conversation. From a young age, society conditions us to be people pleasers. We're taught that saying yes makes us kind, agreeable, and easy to get along with. We fear that saying no will make us seem selfish, rude, or uncooperative. But here's the problem. Saying yes too often doesn't build confidence, it destroys it. When you constantly put others' needs above your own, you send yourself a damaging message. Your time, energy, and boundaries don't matter. Over time, this erodes your self-respect and makes you feel powerless. The Stoics had a clear perspective on this. They believed your time is your most valuable resource, and that wasting it on things that don't align with your values is one of the greatest mistakes you can make. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." In other words, the pressure you feel to say yes isn't coming from others. It's coming from your own fear of disappointing them. But what if I told you that learning to say no is one of the most powerful and confidence-boosting skills you can develop? There was a time in my life when I was the ultimate yes person. I said yes to everything. Extra work, social events, favors for friends. Even when I was completely burned out. I thought it would make me more likable, more respected, more successful. But instead I was exhausted, overwhelmed, and resentful. I remember one particularly brutal week. I had agreed to take on additional projects at work, help a friend move, and attend 3 different social events, all in just 5 days. By the end of the week, I was completely drained. But the worst part? I hadn't spent any time on what actually mattered to me. That's when it hit me. I wasn't in control of my life, other people were. Every time I said yes to something I didn't want to do, I was saying no to myself. No to my own priorities. No to my peace of mind. No to my own happiness. That was my breaking point. From that moment on, I made a commitment. I would start setting boundaries and saying no to anything that didn't align with my values. And guess what? Not only did my stress levels drop, but people actually respected me more. They saw me as someone who valued my time, and in turn, they valued it too. New insight, the no challenge. If you struggle with saying no, here's a simple exercise that can transform your mindset. The no challenge. 7 days to boundaries. For the next 7 days, say no to at least one unnecessary request each day. It could be anything. Declining an invitation to an event you're not interested in. Turning down extra work when you're already at capacity. Resisting the urge to over-explain your no. At first, it might feel uncomfortable. You might feel guilty. You might fear disappointing people. But here's the truth. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to yourself. And here's the surprise. People won't react as negatively as you think. In fact, they'll often respect you more because they see you as someone who values your time and knows your worth. No is a complete sentence. Saying no isn't selfish, it's self-respect. Setting boundaries doesn't make you rude or inconsiderate. It simply means you're protecting your time and energy so you can focus on what truly matters. The next time someone asks you for something, pause and ask yourself, does this align with my priorities? Will this add value to my life? Am I saying yes out of guilt or obligation? If the answer is no, then give yourself permission to say it, without over-explaining, without guilt, and without fear. Because confidence isn't about saying yes to everything. It's about knowing when to say no. Up next, Lesson 2. Accept your flaws and embrace authenticity. Now that we've talked about setting boundaries, the next step to unshakable confidence is embracing your imperfections. Because here's the truth. Perfection is a myth, and chasing it will only make you insecure. Let's dive into Lesson 2. Why it matters, the perfection trap. Have you ever felt like no matter how much you improve, it's never enough? Like there's always something to fix, something to hide, something to be ashamed of. That's the trap of perfectionism, a cycle that convinces you that unless you're flawless, you're not worthy of confidence. Society constantly bombards us with unrealistic expectations, flawless appearances, perfect careers, effortless confidence. The message is clear. If you want to be respected, admired, or successful, you need to be perfect. But here's the truth. Perfection is an illusion. The more you chase it, the more insecure you become. Why? Because the moment you believe you must be perfect, you start fearing every little mistake, every imperfection, every moment when you don't measure up. Instead of building confidence, perfectionism destroys it. The Stoics had a different approach. They believed accepting your flaws is the key to true confidence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." At first glance, this might seem like a call for self-criticism, but it's the opposite. It means recognizing your imperfections without letting them control you. Instead of obsessing over being perfect, embrace growth. Because when you stop seeing flaws as weaknesses and start embracing them as part of your humanity, you become untouchable. Breaking free from self-criticism for years, I struggled with self-criticism. I wanted to be the best at everything I did, and every mistake felt like a personal failure. If I stumbled over my words in a conversation, I felt embarrassed. If I made a small mistake at work, I replayed it in my mind for hours. If I didn't meet my own impossible standards, I felt like I wasn't good enough. I remember one moment in particular. I had given a presentation at work, and even though my colleagues told me I did well, all I could focus on were the small mistakes, the time I stumbled over my words, the moment I lost my train of thought. Instead of feeling proud of what I had accomplished, I felt embarrassed. Then I had a realization. No one else was judging me as harshly as I was judging myself. In fact, people respected my effort, not my perfection. That was when I decided to shift my mindset. Instead of obsessing over being flawless, I started embracing growth. I reminded myself that every mistake was an opportunity to improve, not a reason to doubt myself. And the result? I stopped overanalyzing every interaction. I started speaking more naturally. I became more comfortable in my own skin. The more I embraced imperfection, the more confident I became. Success comes from embracing imperfection. Some of the most successful people in the world didn't achieve greatness because they were perfect. They succeeded because they embraced their imperfections and kept going anyway. Elon Musk has openly admitted that public speaking is a challenge for him. Yet, that hasn't stopped him from sharing his ideas with the world. Oprah Winfrey was told early in her career that she was not fit for television. Instead of letting that define her, she turned her unique style into her biggest strength. The truth is, people aren't drawn to perfection. They're drawn to authenticity. When you embrace your flaws, you become more relatable. You become more real. And you become more confident in who you are. Confidence comes from owning who you are. Confidence isn't about hiding your flaws. It's about owning them. When you embrace your imperfections, you send a message to the world that you are comfortable with who you are. And when you're comfortable with yourself, others will be too. So the next time you catch yourself dwelling on a flaw, ask yourself, is this flaw really as bad as I'm making it out to be? Can I learn from it? Can I grow because of it? Because perfection isn't the goal. Authenticity is. And when you embrace who you are, flaws and all, your confidence will become unshakable. Up. Next, Lesson 3. Understand the limits of your knowledge. Now that we've talked about embracing authenticity, the next step is understanding the power of humility. Because here's the reality. You don't need to have all the answers to be confident. In fact, the most confident people are the ones who admit when they don't know something. Let's dive into Lesson 3. Why it matters. The myth of always knowing the answer. Many people believe that confidence comes from having all the answers. They think that to be respected, they must always appear certain, always have an opinion, and never admit to not knowing something. But that is a dangerous misconception. The reality. True confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from being secure enough to admit when you don't. Think about the people you respect the most. Are they the ones who pretend to have all the answers? Or are they the ones who ask thoughtful questions, seek different perspectives, and openly acknowledge when they are still learning? The Stoics understood this well. Socrates, one of the greatest philosophers in history, famously said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing." He recognized that the pursuit of knowledge is endless, and the moment you believe you know everything is the moment you stop growing. Confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about having the humility to seek them. When pretending backfired, there was a time when I thought admitting ignorance was a sign of weakness. Remember sitting in a meeting at work when someone asked me a technical question I didn't know the answer to. Instead of simply saying, "I'm not sure, but I can find out," I tried to bluff my way through it. I threw in some vague, generic statements, hoping no one would notice. They noticed. The moment I finished speaking, someone who actually understood the topic asked me a follow-up question. I was stuck. My attempt to seem knowledgeable had completely backfired, and I ended up looking far less credible than if I had simply admitted I didn't know. That experience taught me a valuable lesson. Pretending to know something you don't only makes you look insecure. If I had been honest from the start, I would have gained more respect instead of less. That was the moment I decided to shift my approach. Instead of fearing what I didn't know, I started embracing it. I asked more questions. I sought out experts. I focused on learning rather than proving myself. And to my surprise, people responded far more positively when I was open about what I didn't know. The student mindset, one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can make, is adopting the student mindset. What does that mean? Ask more questions. Confident people aren't afraid to ask questions. They don't see it as a sign of weakness, but as a tool for growth. Seek mentorship. Surround yourself with people who know more than you. Instead of feeling intimidated by their knowledge, use it as an opportunity to learn from them. Embrace continuous learning. See life as a journey of constant improvement. Read, listen, observe, and never assume you've reached a final destination in your knowledge. When you adopt the student mindset, you stop feeling the pressure to be perfect. You become more open, more adaptable, and, ironically, more confident. Because when you accept that you don't need to have all the answers, you stop fearing what you don't know. Key takeaway: confidence is in the willingness to learn. True confidence doesn't come from pretending. It comes from learning. The next time you're in a situation where you don't know something, resist the urge to fake it. Instead, try this. Say, "That's a great question. I don't know the answer, but I'd love to learn more about it." Ask someone for their insight, instead of feeling the need to provide your own. Embrace curiosity instead of fear, because the most confident people aren't the ones who claim to know everything. They're the ones who are always willing to learn. Up next, Lesson 4. Speak less, listen more. Now that we've talked about the power of curiosity, the next step is mastering the skill of listening. Because here's something most people don't realize. Confident people don't dominate conversations. They listen. Let's dive into Lesson 4. Why it matters. Confidence is quiet. Many people believe that confidence comes from being the loudest person in the room, someone who dominates conversations, always has something to say, and makes their presence known. But in reality, the most confident people are not the ones who talk the most. They are the ones who listen the best. Think about the people you admire. Are they the ones who interrupt, talk over others, and force their opinions into every conversation? Or are they the ones who listen intently, respond thoughtfully, and make others feel heard? The Stoics understood that wisdom comes not just from speaking, but from listening. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, famously said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." When you speak less and listen more, you do 2 powerful things. You learn more. Instead of just hearing your own thoughts, you gain new perspectives, insights, and ideas. You gain more respect. People appreciate those who make them feel heard. When you truly listen, others naturally gravitate toward you. Confidence is not about proving yourself in every conversation. It is about being secure enough to listen, observe, and respond with intention. When talking too much backfired, I used to believe that to seem confident, I needed to always have something to say. I remember attending a networking event where I wanted to make a strong impression. I spent most of the time talking about myself, my experiences, my thoughts, my opinions. I thought I was doing a great job, showing my expertise and making connections. But at the end of the night, I realized something. While I had talked a lot, I had learned almost nothing about the people around me, and worse, I could tell that some of them had tuned me out. The next time I went to a similar event, I tried a different approach. Instead of filling the silence, with my own voice, I asked thoughtful questions. I paid attention to people's responses instead of planning what I would say next. I gave people the space to share their thoughts. The result? The conversations were deeper and more engaging. People responded to me in a completely different way. They were more interested in me, not because I was the loudest, but because I listened. That was the moment I realized confidence is not about how much you talk. It is about how well you listen. The power pause, one of the best ways to improve your confidence in conversations, is to practice the power pause. Here is how it works. Before you respond, pause for 3 seconds. Ask yourself, does my response add value? Am I speaking just to fill silence, or do I have something meaningful to say? If the answer is no, stay quiet. At first, this will feel unnatural. We are used to jumping into conversations quickly, afraid of silence. But when you start using the power pause, something incredible happens. You gain control of your words instead of speaking impulsively. You become more thoughtful, making your words more impactful. You command more respect because people see you as someone who speaks with intention, not just to be heard. This is a strategy used by some of the greatest leaders, speakers, and negotiators in the world. They know that silence is a tool, not something to be feared. The more you listen, the more you learn. If you want to be more confident in conversations, do not focus on saying more. Focus on listening more. The next time you are in a discussion, try this. Instead of thinking about what to say next, focus on what the other person is saying. Instead of filling silence, let it be. Instead of talking to prove yourself, listen to understand. Confidence is not about being the loudest in the room. It is about being the most present. Up next, Lesson 5. Embrace the present moment. Now that we have talked about the power of listening, the next step is learning to fully engage with the present. Because when you are stuck in the past or worrying about the future, your confidence suffers. Let's dive into Lesson 5. Why it matters. Overthinking destroys confidence. Have you ever caught yourself replaying a past mistake over and over again? Or maybe you find yourself worrying about the future. What might go wrong? What people might think? What you should say or do next? Overthinking is one of the biggest confidence killers. When you dwell on the past, you trap yourself in regret. When you obsess over the future, you paralyze yourself with fear. Either way, you are anywhere but the present moment. The problem is, real confidence can only exist in the now. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." In other words, focus only on what is happening right now, in this moment. Why? Because this moment is the only thing you can control. You cannot change the past. You cannot predict the future. But you can control how you show up right now. When you embrace the present, you stop overthinking. You stop second-guessing yourself. You start acting with clarity, certainty, and confidence. Personal story. From stress to focus. I used to struggle with overthinking every little decision. Before any important conversation, I would rehearse it in my head 100 times. After it was over, I would replay it, analyzing everything I said and wondering if I should have said something different. It was exhausting. One day, I was so overwhelmed with stress that I decided to take a walk outside. For the first few minutes, my mind was still racing, thinking about my to-do list, past mistakes, and what might happen tomorrow. Then I noticed something: the sound of birds chirping, the feeling of the cool air on my skin, the warmth of the sun. For the first time in a long time, I was fully present. At that moment, I realized how much time I'd been wasting trapped in my own thoughts. The world was happening around me, but I had been missing it. That was when I started practicing mindfulness. Not as a complicated meditation technique, but as a simple habit, focusing on what is happening right now. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. One of the best ways to bring yourself back to the present moment is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. Whenever you catch yourself overthinking or feeling anxious, try this. Look around and name 5 things you can see. Listen and identify. 4 things you can hear. Notice 3 things you can feel: the air on your skin, the fabric of your clothes, your heartbeat. Identify 2 things you can smell. Focus on 1 thing you can taste. This simple exercise instantly grounds you in the present. It pulls you out of your head and into the real world, where confidence actually lives. The more you practice mindfulness, the more natural confidence becomes, because confidence is not about controlling the future or fixing the past. It is about showing up fully engaged in the now. Confidence lives in the present. If you struggle with overthinking, remind yourself: the past is done. You cannot change it. The future is uncertain. You cannot control it. The only thing that matters is right now. Every time you feel doubt creeping in, pause, breathe. Focus on where you are, what you are doing, and what is in front of you, because confidence thrives in the present, not in regrets or worries. Up next, Lesson 6. Seek wisdom from others now. That we have talked about being present, the next step is seeking wisdom from the right people. Because confidence does not mean having all the answers. It means knowing where to find them. Let's dive into Lesson 6. Why it matters. Confidence is built on learning. Many people think that confidence means having all the answers, that the most self-assured individuals are those who figure everything out on their own. But here's the truth: the most confident people aren't the ones who know everything. They are the ones who know how to learn. Think about it. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and innovators in history, Marcus Aurelius, Leonardo da Vinci, even modern icons like Warren Buffett, didn't rise to the top by knowing everything from the start. They became great because they were students first. The Stoics believed that wisdom is a lifelong pursuit. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." In other words, the moment you believe you have all the answers, you stop growing. Confidence isn't about pretending to be the smartest person in the room. It's about being humble enough to learn from those who know more. How seeking advice changed everything. There was a time in my life when I thought asking for help was a sign of weakness. I believed that if I wanted to be seen as capable, I needed to figure everything out on my own. Whether it was career decisions, personal struggles, or skill development, I avoided seeking advice because I feared it would make me look less competent. But that mindset held me back. I remember one specific situation at work where I was struggling with a major project. I spent days trying to solve a problem, refusing to ask for help because I thought I should be able to handle it alone. But the more I struggled, the more frustrated I became. Finally, out of desperation, I asked a more experienced colleague for guidance. Not only did he help me solve the issue within minutes, but he also gave me insights that I never would have thought of on my own. That moment changed my entire perspective. I realized that seeking wisdom isn't a weakness, it's a strength. From that point forward, I made it a habit to ask for advice, surround myself with people who challenged me, and learn from those who had already walked the path I was on. And the result? I became more confident than ever. Because instead of relying on guesswork, I had real knowledge, real insights, and real support. The 90-10 rule. If you want to maximize your learning, here is a simple but powerful strategy. The 90-10 rule. When seeking wisdom from mentors, listen 90% of the time and speak 10%. Too often, people ask for advice, but then spend most of the conversation talking about themselves. They explain their situation in excessive detail, defend their current approach, or try to prove that they already know a lot. But real learning happens when you listen more than you speak. Next time you seek wisdom from someone more experienced, ask a direct question. Let them speak without interrupting. Take notes and absorb their perspective. The more you listen, the more you learn. And the more you learn, the more confident you become. Confidence comes from knowing where to find the answers. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to know where to find them. Make it a habit to learn from others. Read books, seek mentors. Surround yourself with people who challenge and inspire you. Because confidence isn't about pretending you have it all figured out. It's about having the courage to learn from those who do. Up next, Lesson 7. Cultivate a growth mindset now. That we have talked about learning from others, the next step is developing a mindset that embraces challenges rather than fearing failure. Let's dive into Lesson 7. Why it matters. Fixed versus growth mindset. Many people believe that confidence comes from talent or natural ability. They think that successful individuals were simply born with intelligence, skill, or charisma. But that is not true. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle is not talent, it is mindset. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that adversity is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that obstacles are not roadblocks. They are opportunities for growth. There are two types of mindsets. A fixed mindset makes you believe that your abilities are set in stone. You either have what it takes, or you do not. If you fail, you see it as proof that you are not good enough. A growth mindset makes you believe that skills and confidence are built through effort and persistence. You see failure as a stepping stone, not a stopping point. The truth is, confidence is not about never failing. It is about how you respond to failure. How failure became my greatest teacher. I used to avoid challenges because I was afraid of failing. I remember one time in particular when I was asked to give a public presentation. I spent hours preparing, but the moment I stepped on stage, my nerves took over. I stumbled over my words, forgot key points, and felt like I had completely embarrassed myself. For days, I replayed that failure in my head. I convinced myself that I was just not a good public speaker, and that I should avoid situations like that in the future. But then, I realized something. I was letting one failure define me. Instead of seeing it as proof that I was bad at public speaking, I started seeing it as a lesson. I analyzed what went wrong, practiced more, and signed up for another speaking opportunity. Over time, my confidence grew, not because I suddenly became a great speaker overnight, but because I stopped seeing failure as something to avoid and started seeing it as part of the learning process. That shift in mindset changed everything. I became more willing to take risks, step outside my comfort zone, and improve in areas where I once struggled. And that is what a growth mindset does. It makes failure a tool for building confidence instead of destroying it. The most successful people failed. First, some of Unbreakable. The most successful individuals in history failed before they succeeded. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Instead of giving up, he trained harder and became one of the greatest athletes of all time. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job because they said he lacked creativity. He later built an empire that defined imagination. Oprah Winfrey was told she was unfit for television. She ignored that opinion and became one of the most influential media figures in history. The key lesson? Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. The difference between those who succeed and those who do not is simple. Successful people do not let failure stop them. They use it to grow. Failure is feedback, not defeat. Confidence does not come from always winning. It comes from knowing that even when you fail, you can learn, adapt, and improve. The next time you face a setback, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this challenge make me better? What would I do differently next time? Because confidence is not about avoiding failure. It is about learning from it. Up next, Lesson 8. Develop emotional intelligence. Now that we have talked about embracing challenges, the next step is learning how to manage your emotions effectively. Because real confidence is not just about thinking clearly, it is about staying in control, even in difficult situations. Let's dive into Lesson 8. Why it matters. Emotional control builds. Inner strength confidence is not just about how you present yourself. It is about how you handle stress, conflict, and difficult situations. Many people think that being confident means always staying strong, never showing vulnerability, or shutting down emotions completely. But that is not true. Real confidence is not about suppressing emotions. It is about understanding and managing them. The Stoics believed that emotions should not control us. Seneca. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. This means that when we let emotions take over, we often create unnecessary pain, making situations worse than they really are. By developing emotional intelligence, you gain control over your reactions. Instead of letting anger, fear, or frustration dictate your actions, you learn to respond with clarity, logic, and intention. And that kind of emotional mastery is one of the strongest confidence boosters you can develop. When emotion took over, I used to struggle with controlling my emotions, especially in stressful situations. I remember one specific incident at work. A colleague criticized a project I had spent weeks working on. The moment I heard their feedback, I felt my chest tighten. I immediately got defensive, arguing that they did not understand the effort I had put in. After the conversation, I realized I had let my emotions take over. Instead of listening to their perspective, I reacted impulsively. My emotional response had damaged the conversation, and I felt worse afterward. That was when I started learning about emotional intelligence. I realized that confidence is not about reacting, it is about responding. I practiced staying calm under pressure, asking questions instead of reacting defensively, and taking time to process emotions before acting on them. Over time, I noticed a huge shift. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by emotions, I learned to navigate them. Instead of reacting in anger or frustration, I started responding with clarity. And as a result, I became not just more confident, but more respected in my interactions. The 10-second rule, one of the most effective ways to develop emotional intelligence, is to practice the 10-second rule. Whenever you feel an intense emotion, whether it is anger, frustration, or anxiety, try this. Pause for 10 seconds before responding. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, am I reacting emotionally or responding logically? Choose your response intentionally, instead of letting emotions dictate your actions. This small habit can completely change how you handle difficult conversations, conflict, and even personal relationships. Why? Because confidence is not about never feeling emotions. It is about learning to control them instead of letting them control you. Confidence comes from emotional mastery. The strongest people are not the ones who never feel emotions. They are the ones who understand, process, and manage them effectively. The next time you feel an emotional reaction coming on, remember, you do not have to react immediately. Emotions are signals, not instructions. Taking a moment to process before responding gives you control, clarity, and confidence. Because confidence is not about shutting down your emotions. It is about learning how to navigate them with strength and self-awareness. Up next, Lesson 9. Strengthen your body, strengthen your mind now. That we have talked about emotional mastery, the next step is understanding how your physical state impacts your confidence. Because the truth is, when you take care of your body, your mind follows. Let's dive into Lesson 9. Why it matters. Physical health directly impacts confidence. When people think about confidence, they often focus on mindset, positive thinking, self-talk, and emotional resilience. But there is another key factor that is often overlooked: your physical health. The mind and body are deeply connected. When you feel strong physically, you feel strong mentally. When you take care of your body, you naturally boost your energy, focus, and self-assurance. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that discipline over the body leads to discipline over the mind. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, practiced daily physical exercise because he believed that building physical resilience made him mentally tougher. The truth is, if you neglect your body, your confidence will suffer. Lack of movement leads to low energy. Poor posture affects how you carry yourself. A weak body leads to a weak mindset. But when you prioritize physical well-being, you start showing up in the world differently, with more clarity, focus, and confidence. When neglecting my body affected my mindset, I used to think that my confidence issues were purely mental. There was a period in my life when I was overwhelmed with work and stress. I stopped exercising, ate whatever was convenient, and spent most of my time sitting. At first, I thought it did not matter. I was still getting things done. But over time, I noticed a shift. My energy levels dropped. I felt sluggish and unmotivated. My self-doubt increased and I felt less capable. The worst part? I did not realize how much my physical state was affecting my confidence. One day, after feeling particularly exhausted, I decided to go for a short walk. Nothing intense, just a simple walk outside. And within minutes, I felt a noticeable difference. My mind felt clearer, my stress levels dropped, and I felt more in control. That was when I realized physical movement is not just about fitness, it is about mental strength. I started making small changes. I exercised a little each day, even if it was just stretching or a quick workout. The more I moved, the better I felt. My confidence started coming back, not because I looked different, but because I felt different. The 2-minute rule: if the idea of exercising feels overwhelming, start small with the 2-minute rule. Instead of committing to an hour-long workout, start with just 2 minutes. Do one simple movement: push-ups, squats, stretching, or a short walk. Once you start, you will often feel motivated to do more. This trick works because getting started is the hardest part. By removing the pressure of long workouts, you make movement a daily habit. And the more you move, the more confident you feel. Confidence is both mental and physical. Confidence is not just about how you think, it is about how you feel in your own body. If you want to feel stronger, start moving more. If you want to feel more energized, take care of your health. If you want to boost confidence, build strength from the inside out. Start small. Stay consistent, and remember, when you strengthen your body, you strengthen your mind. Up next, Lesson 10. Surround yourself with positive influences. Now that we have talked about physical strength, the next step is choosing the right people to surround yourself with. Because the truth is, your confidence is shaped by the company you keep. Let's dive into Lesson 10. Why it matters. The people around you shape your confidence. Have you ever noticed how certain people leave you feeling drained, doubtful, or uninspired? On the other hand, some people lift you up, challenge you, and make you feel like you can take on the world. That is not a coincidence. The truth is, confidence is contagious. The people you spend the most time with influence your mindset, your energy, and even your self-belief. The Stoics believe that we should be careful about who we allow into our inner circle. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." In other words, if you want to grow, surround yourself with people who challenge and inspire you, not those who drain you. If you are struggling with confidence, take a close look at your environment. Are you surrounded by people who uplift you, or people who hold you back? Cutting out negative influences. There was a time in my life when I did not realize how much my social circle was affecting me. I was spending time with people who constantly complained, doubted themselves, and criticized others. Every conversation was filled with negativity, talking about why things would not work, why success was impossible, why taking risks was foolish. At first, I did not think much of it, but over time, I noticed something. Their mindset was becoming my mindset. I started doubting myself more. I hesitated to take action. My confidence dropped, not because of any real failure, but because I was surrounded by people who only focused on problems, not solutions. Then, I made a change. I started spending more time with people who were optimistic, ambitious, and growth-focused. I connected with those who challenged me to be better, who supported my goals, and who celebrated success instead of criticizing it. And the difference was undeniable. My confidence grew, not because I suddenly became a different person, but because I was no longer carrying the weight of negativity. That experience taught me one of the most valuable confidence lessons. The people around you either fuel your growth or drain your energy. Choose wisely. The energy audit. If you are unsure about whether your social circle is helping or hurting your confidence, try this simple exercise. The energy audit. Make a list of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Next to each name, write down how you feel after spending time with them: energized, neutral, or drained. If someone consistently drains your energy, ask yourself, is this relationship helping me grow or is it holding me back? You do not have to cut people out of your life completely, but you can choose to set boundaries, limit time with those who bring negativity, and seek out people who push you forward instead of holding you back. Remember, your confidence is not just built internally. It is also shaped by who you allow into your space. Confidence is contagious. If you want to be more confident, surround yourself with people who believe in you. Spend more time with those who challenge, inspire, and uplift. You set boundaries with those who drain your energy or fill your mind with doubt. Be intentional about the company you keep, because your environment shapes your mindset. Confidence does not happen in isolation. It grows when you choose to be around people who lift you up. The journey to confidence. Confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you build, one choice, one habit, and one mindset shift at a time. From learning to say no, embracing your flaws and staying present, to strengthening your body, managing emotions, and surrounding yourself with the right people. Each lesson builds on the next. So here is my challenge to you. Pick one lesson from this series and apply it today, because real confidence is not about waiting until you feel ready. It is about taking action now. What's next? If this message resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Which lesson impacted you the most? And if you want more practical insights on confidence, mindset, and personal growth, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and stay connected, because this journey is just beginning. We have covered 10 powerful lessons that can help you build true, lasting confidence. Each one is rooted in Stoic wisdom and practical application, so you can start making real changes in your mindset and actions right now. Let's do a quick recap. 1. Learn to say no. Set boundaries and protect your time. Saying no is self-respect, not selfishness. Accept your flaws. Confidence is not about perfection. It is about embracing who you are. Understand the limits of your knowledge. You do not need all the answers. Confidence comes from a willingness to learn. Speak less, listen more. The most confident people do not dominate conversations. They listen and absorb wisdom. Embrace the present moment. Overthinking kills confidence. Focus on what you can control in the now. Seek wisdom from others. Surround yourself with mentors and never stop learning. Cultivate a growth mindset. Failure is feedback, not defeat. Every mistake is an opportunity to grow. Develop emotional intelligence. Master your emotions instead of letting them control you. Strengthen your body, strengthen your mind. your physical state impacts your confidence. Take care of your body. Surround yourself with positive influences. Confidence is contagious. Spend time with those who lift you up. Each of these lessons is a building block for greater self-belief, resilience, and inner strength. Take the first step. Today now, I have a challenge for you. Pick one lesson from this list and apply it today. Just one. Whether it is saying no, listening more, or taking a 2-minute walk, start small but start now, because confidence is not built overnight. It is built through action. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these lessons resonated with you the most? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like, subscribe for more, and let's continue this journey together. Confidence is a skill, and today is the day you start mastering it.